Hello and welcome to Paint Talk, the weekly show where I answer your questions on oil painting. So if you have a question, leave it in the comments section and I just might answer it on next week's Paint Talk. So today I'm going to be talking about what do you do when you make a bad painting. The first thing I'm going to tell you to do is don't get mad or frustrated. That's not going to help. What you need to do is identify what went wrong. If you can identify what went wrong in your painting, then you can make sure that you don't do that next time, or you can focus on acquiring the skills you need to make sure that doesn't happen again next time. And also maybe you can fix it, but you got to figure out what's wrong with it first. And some things that you can do to try and see what's wrong with it is you can look at it in a mirror. I do this all the time with my portraits. I'll either look in a mirror at my painting, which will reverse everything, or I'll actually take a picture of it with my phone. And on my phone, I can just mirror the image, reverse it, or flip it upside down. Just flipping your painting upside down, just taking it on your easel, flipping it upside down, giving you a fresh look on it. That can make what's wrong jump out at you, and you can identify what's wrong. And a lot of the times you can fix it. Especially if your paint's still wet, you can scrape or wipe off certain sections of the painting. I do this all the time. If I have a lot of thick paint, I'll get my palette knife, I'll scrape it down, or I'll get a paper towel, even get a little bit of paint thinner on my paper towel and wipe that section off and just repaint that section that I didn't do well over again. I've done this on portraits where I've like repainted an entire half of the face. I'll notice something like, oh, that eye, it's a little off, and I'm like, oh, well, that eye was off, so then I painted the cheek off and I painted that side of the mouth. So I'm just gonna get rid of the whole left side of the face and redo it. Don't be afraid to completely wipe away and start again. That's the beautiful thing about oil paints. You technically cannot mess up. You can always wipe a section down and start it again. Now, if your painting is dry, you can just paint right over it. Just make sure the paint that you're painting on top of that dried paint is thicker and has some medium in it, like linseed oil, like a fattier medium, because this is where the fat over lean rule actually comes into play. And fat over lean is a way of working to prevent cracking in the future, because you see when paint dries to the touch, it's not fully dry. It takes 6 to 12 months to dry all the way through. So underneath that dry paint on the surface is wet paint that's still expanding and moving as it's drying. If you have another layer of paint on top of it that is leaner, meaning it doesn't have a lot of oil in it, it's not going to be flexible and it's going to crack. Now, if you just can't figure out what's wrong with your painting, some things that you can do is you can set it aside. Don't look at it for a couple hours, a couple days, a week, however long it is you need to just get some fresh eyes on it. And speaking of fresh eyes, you can always get somebody else to look at your painting. They don't even have to be an artist. It could just be anybody that's near you and you say, hey, what looks weird about this painting? And trust me, people will let you know. But it does help to have other artists look at your painting. This is why I have a private Facebook group for my Patreons. Everybody shares their artwork. So many people post progress photos of their work, pictures of the painting in the middle of the process, just to get feedback from people, get a second pair of eyes on it, get other opinions on it. This can really help. It can really get you to see the painting from a different perspective and identify what's wrong and hopefully catch it before you get too far down the road with the painting. I mean, this is why they have critiques in art class. In all painting classes, when everybody's done with their painting, they put them up and people are supposed to say what's wrong with them. You're supposed to say, oh, I like this and I don't like this. You're supposed to get other people's opinions and fresh eyes to let you know what's working and what's not working so you can fix it later. Don't be afraid of constructive criticism. I love it. I love it when people point out things that they think aren't working. People are like, oh, well, that's right. And now that I know it, I can fix it and not do that next time. You keep doing that again and again and again, you're going to get better and better and better. Now, sometimes you just need to let a painting go. It's fine. You should always be thinking that your best painting is going to be your next painting. Go work on another painting. This is why I work multiple paintings at a time, so I can kind of rotate between them. If I'm bored of one, I can go to another. If one's not working, maybe some time away from it on another painting will let me come back with a fresh look and be able to fix the problems that I'm having. This is why I always tell beginners to not choose paintings, whether it's size or subject matter, that's going to take you weeks and weeks to do. Choose ones that will take you 1 to 3 sittings max. That way you can do the painting from beginning to end, deal with the problems that that particular painting is going to present to you, and then move on to another one with what you've learned from that one. So many times I see people just get stuck on one painting for so long and they just keep trying it again and again and again. They're not really learning that much. They should just move on to another painting. And don't think of that painting as a failure. You need to honor the effort. You sat down and painted, and that is worth something. And understand that even if your painting is an absolute failure, you still got better. You learned something. All of the videos that I have, all the tips and advice that I give, it is absolutely nothing compared to what you learn from practice and experience and failure. You don't learn the most from reading books or watching videos or tutorials. You learn the most from painting. Whether it turns out good or bad, you sat down and painted and you got better. All right, so now if you know if the painting is just a complete loss and it's still wet, you can save the canvas or panel, whatever you painted on, by scraping the paint down or wiping it down with a paper towel with some paint thinner. You know, the canvas might be stained a certain color, but that's fine. It's probably going to be a very neutral value anyways that will be fine to paint over again. I do this all the time. I really don't like throwing away my canvases or panels, so if I think I can reuse it, I have no problem wiping a painting completely off and saving the canvas. Now, if the painting is dry and you don't feel like you need to save the canvas, you know, let the painting dry, set it aside, and don't throw it away. Keep it. Like, I keep all of my failed paintings. I actually like keeping my failed paintings around more than my successful ones. Like, I'm not big on hanging up my successful paintings. I actually don't care to look at them too much because all I do is I just see all the things that I could do differently. And I don't know, I've talked about this before, like I just really enjoyed the process of painting. Like that's why I paint. Like I don't paint to have a nice painting to show everybody. Like that's not where I get the most enjoyment for me, like showing the painting. I mean, if somebody likes it, enjoys it, like I'm glad that somebody else enjoys it. That's why I'm painting. I'm not painting these paintings for myself to have. I'm painting them for other people to experience them. But as far as like what I enjoy the most, it's the actual process of painting. And keeping my failed paintings, you know, I almost look at them as a badge of honor. I have these giant stacks of failed paintings and I think, you know, that's what I had to go through. Like I'm not going to forget, you know, all the practice that I've done to get to where I am. And sometimes, you know, looking back on those can put things in perspective at how far along you've come. Like I'll look at paintings that I've done a few years ago that didn't go well. I'm like, wow, like I've come such a long way. Like I know exactly why this painting failed and I would never make this mistake again. And it's kind of cool to see how much progress I've made since that painting. Now I just want to say, take comfort in knowing that you are never going to feel fully comfortable painting like you know everything and it's so easy and you've just mastered it. I have never felt that way. Honestly, the better I get and the more I learn about painting, the more I realize how much I don't know and how much I don't have a grasp on what I'm doing. And I know that my learning, it will be endless. I will never get to the finish line. I will never feel like I have mastered it. I bet if you talk to very accomplished oil painters today that are considered masters, they will probably tell you that there is so much more that they could learn about what they do. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow. Now, the painting in this time-lapse video that you just watched is actually pulled from my Foundations of Oil Painting course. It's one of many tutorials, lectures, exercises that I have in that course. So if you don't want to miss out for when I release that, you need to sign up for the Paint Coach newsletter, which I'll put a link to in the description below. Also down there's a link to my Patreon page if you're looking for full painting video tutorials. And if you want to see what I paint on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero here telling you to go get painting. Hey, you made it all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate that. What I'd appreciate even more is if you hit that subscribe button. Also, you'll probably like this video as well.